Welcome to another episode of Bringing Down the Grindhouse, a podcast where we discuss horror in media. And tonight we're going to be discussing Shin Godzilla and the terror of Mechagodzilla. I'm Mitch.
I'm Murr.
And I'm Jonathan.
And Godzilla is one of those movie series that I only have seen one movie of really in full, except for like the bad American ones that came out.
Oh, the ones that came out like in the late 90s?
Yeah, like 2000s.
Yeah.
So the one that you're referring to is the Matthew Broderick 1998 Godzilla.
Is that
Gotcha.
the one with the Frenchman who always shows up and always plays a French character?
It's the one that was directed by the dudes who did Independence Day, that's for sure.
Yep.
And it ruined Godzilla for a lot of Americans.
Yep.
It's got the guy from The Professional. That guy.
Oh.
Right? He's like the police detective who's like trying to figure out things that are going on. But like doesn't really get anywhere and is just very French the whole film.
My first experience with a Godzilla movie was Godzilla versus Megalon.
Oh.
And that's a very interesting fact because it is a lot of kids' first Godzilla movie that was aired on TV. They aired a lot of Godzilla movies on TV, but Godzilla versus Megalon was one that always had a slot on TV.
What channel were they like putting this on?
I don't exactly remember.
Was it just like random television
cable?
network that was like,
Yeah.
hey, you want to watch this? It's
Yeah.
like, what is that?
TMC?
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that. you know?
Spike TV, TMZ
Yeah.
that always played like
Spike
the Mummy.
TV would probably be the one.
They
that it
played
was
the
on.
Mummy and like Terminator and like some other movie all the time. That's
That
all they
makes
ever
sense.
played.
Yeah.
John, what is your experience with Godzilla movies?
I like purposefully went to go look for like random Godzilla movies because they were always mentioned in some of my film classes, but the general consensus was that they were never really fully respected here in the United States. Everyone kind of thought that they were not worth the time and not nearly as popular as they were in other countries. Because for some reason, we don't really like big monster movies in the United States.
A lot of Godzilla movies seem to kind of follow the formula of like shonen anime does, where it's like you've got Godzilla and then he fights a strong creature and then gets beaten and then he comes back stronger and then defeats the monster and then oh no, the monster has a buddy monster.
There's an even
that
stronger
shows up,
monster.
Yeah, that defeats him and then he takes them both down. And that usually seems to be like the formula for a lot of them.
But I mean, I distinctly remember having a giant Godzilla like toy figurine when I was a kid because my dad brought it back from Japan. And so I was always playing with that thing. And so I got into watching the movies. I actually really liked the 90s movie because that's all I ever watched all the time. And I just thought it was so weird and campy. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep watching this over and over.
My grandmother would often threaten me when I was being a little shit. And she would be like, you better cut that out or Godzilla's going to get really angry and like destroy you.
What
and
a
it was
specific monster. Just like
Yeah.
Godzilla's going to come fucking
And that
eat
was
you.
my grandma was Godzilla apparently
See
in
that
those
ocean?
situations.
Yeah, you see that fucking ocean? He's gonna come out of there.
Come on, and then he'll whip your ass, boy. Like that's just like
But you know what? I liked the newer ones with was it Bryan Cranston and the girl from Stranger Things was in the other one.
I did not really appreciate the Bryan Cranston one as much, but I liked King of Monsters, which came out more recently.
Yeah, where you got to see like all three
All
of
of them up
You got
there
to,
fighting,
You got
yeah.
to see what were the main monsters in that one?
For King of the Monsters, it was Godzilla, King Ghidorah, Rodan, and Mothra. And if
Hell
you
yeah.
know anything about kaiju films, it's that was one of the first like crossovers. That's like the lineup from Ghidorah, the
Wait,
three-headed
stop for a
monster.
second. Explain what a kaiju is.
A kaiju is basically just the Japanese term for monster, or it could refer to a giant monster.
Yeah.
So when we talk about kaiju films, we're talking about giant monsters that fuck shit up. I'm gonna go ahead and just tell everyone my experience with Godzilla.
Hell yeah, go for it.
So I grew up watching Godzilla movies from a very young age. My dad showed me the original 98 version, and I loved it. And for the most part, usually kids you grow up with Jurassic Park, then you see Godzilla, and you're like, fuck Jurassic Park, dude. So I grew up with that one. I liked it a lot. I didn't really care for the human plots of any of these movies. And
Right.
I got a box set, and that box set's worth like $200.
That box
now.
set is amazing. Where did you get it?
Oh, no, that's a newer one.
Oh, there's a different one.
Yeah, there's many box sets.
Hell yeah.
The one I got originally had like a handful of movies. It had like Godzilla versus Mothra, fucking Godzilla's Revenge, Terror of Mechagodzilla, which is the first movie from like actual Japanese Godzilla movies that I've seen, and then like Rodan and shit. But we saw Terror of Mechagodzilla today, and it's from the Criterion Collection that just released their 1954 to 1975 box set. All of the movies from that era, the Showa era is what it's called. It's the guy in the suit era, as a lot of people like to call it as well. All those movies are remastered in Blu-ray and have both Japanese and American subtitles and language differences.
Oh my god! So we watched like, what is it considered, like a dubbed version?
It is a dubbed version, and it is the original dub, but they try to clean it up, because when I saw the original box set when I was a kid, oh my gosh, it's a completely different movie.
Oh, weird. Okay.
It's not a completely different movie, but you know
it can
I
change
mean.
a few things.
Yeah,
based on like the voice acting
stuff for sure. I'm gonna go ahead and say that this year I challenged myself to watch all 35 Godzilla movies, not in a row, not in order, but in anticipation for Godzilla vs. Kong by Legendary Pictures next year.
You should tell everybody who's listening about your project that's coming up, because this is exciting.
So I'm going to be starting a new segment within the podcast called Monsters with Murr.
Yeah.
I'm going to be talking about all 35 of these Godzilla movies, as well as Godzilla vs. Kong.
That's 35 different movies.
And trust me, it's a lot. I'm like 20 or 22 in, and it's very heavy. But I will say that I will be trying to upload them as soon as I can, but I will not only be talking about Godzilla movies and kaiju films, I will be talking about regular monster movies in general.
Got it.
So that will be an upcoming segment.
Yeah, that's like your focus on something. That'll be fucking cool to see those.
Yeah, I'm really stoked to be doing it.
That's awesome. So you mentioned that you sort of got into watching them when you were younger too. So did it just continue as you got older and you were collecting things, bringing in all of the movies together?
No, absolutely not. It's like one of those things where I get really into it, and then I leave it for like 10 years.
Oh, gotcha.
And then like something resparks my interest, resparks the interest. And in this case, it was me seeing King of the Monsters in theaters. Because the thing about America is we rarely get Godzilla movies in theaters.
Yeah, for real.
Only a handful of times have we gotten it. Like the 98 version, the Millennium Godzilla for in 2000, Godzilla 2014, and like, what is it?
King of Monsters also, yeah,
like,
it was also. I saw that in theaters.
I'd say
Nobody
like 5 or 6
liked
of
it.
them.
It was weird. Like, it got such terrible ratings.
It got canned by critics, but audiences loved it.
Yeah, that's why I was like, what the fuck? I loved both of them. They're fucking awesome.
See, here's the thing about Godzilla movies: you got to suspend your disbelief.
Well, I mean, like, people go to watch it for the giant monsters. Like, they're not watching it for anything else. Like, they don't give a fuck about what's happening with the people. Like, I want to see these giant monsters fucking attack each other on screen and watch some fucking carnage. Like, that's what I go to watch a Godzilla film for.
These are film critics. These are self-proclaimed film critics who are just
pricks.
like, you know what? This shot and this story, I ain't having it. And it doesn't really matter, because in the grand scheme of things, you're there to see fucking 2 monsters kick ass.
Yep. I never understood that. Why there was always the biggest critique over those kinds of movies. It's kind of like how the critics didn't really like Pacific Rim.
Right.
Even though like
just fights.
It was a sick fucking movie.
Oh,
you got some good fight scenes in that movie. Yeah. Don't watch the second one though.
I consider that one I could consider that one a kaiju film, just because of just
they
giant
even say kaiju
robots.
in the film.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Yeah, they say kaiju in the film to describe it and give a little like brief description of what they're talking about, and they do it in like a category style. So they're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and like the bigger the number, the bigger the kaiju, and that's kind of how they break their shit.
I love
down.
that Guillermo del Toro was at the helm.
Fucking master.
And like everyone's like, "Are you really making a giant robot film?" Yes.
Yeah, fucking course I am.
yeah. What about?
I do what I want.
What of it?
He really has extended across a bunch of different genres, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah. I will explain something real quick.
Yeah.
Godzilla is cut into 4 different periods in time. So from 1954 to 1975. As
in like years they were released? Or like timeline inside the story?
Series-wise.
Okay.
So from 1954 to 1975, it is considered the Showa era. It is the guy in the suit. Like the very cheesy, like...
Yeah, it's like 2 dudes in a suit on a little mini set, and they just wreak havoc.
Yeah. And those were made primarily by Toho. Toho
Okay.
is at the helm for the majority, actually all of the Japanese films. And then Godzilla took a 9-year break and came back in 1984 with the return of Godzilla, or 1984 Godzilla. And it begins the Heisei era, which is from 84 to 90, I believe, 7 or 98.
Are these named after the creators?
These are named after the eras that they're made. So in Japan, it was considered the Showa era. And I think the Heisei era means like an era of peace or something like that.
Oh, damn.
Or
All right.
I might have that wrong. The Showa era might be the era of peace, but they have it named after the emperors.
Oh, fuck. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So then after that, we have the Millennium. Okay, so America had their 1998
Yeah.
TriStar fucking release.
They were really trying to get it into the mainstream public, and it just wouldn't take. Not after, like you said, not after Jurassic Park and some other things. Like, people wanted to go a different direction with it.
And I will say, Toho was not happy with how they treated their baby.
Oh, I bet. They changed the look, too.
Oh,
like,
drastically.
heavily.
It looks like an iguana.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. They based it off of. It's like a iguana that gets infected and then like transforms
exactly.
into it. So that's why it looks like.
They
that,
try to,
but-
I guess, make it more realistic. I don't know what they were trying to
They
do.
focused a lot on marketing, like not actually showing the
Hell yeah,
monster.
they did.
Yeah.
Like big gulp cups at 7-Eleven.
Dude,
Just-
I remember getting those. That was fucking legit. You got like this giant ass fucking cup.
My favorite piece of marketing was his foot is the size of this bus on top of like on the side of buses in New York.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yep.
I
That was
remember
fucking cool.
They made Godzilla ice cream with chocolate mint Godzillas inside of it.
I remember
Shit.
that too.
That was a marketing thing that I remember from that. I
Who was selling that?
think it was like Briars.
Was it?
I think so.
It was like,
Dryers.
so you go to like any
Dryers.
grocery store and you just found.
Yeah, you just found
the
the
Godzilla
Godzilla
fucking
ice
ice cream.
cream
Hell
with
yeah.
little chocolate Godzillas in it.
What's funny is they made a animated TV series based off that
they
Godzilla right after, and it was pretty well received.
Decent.
Yeah, it was not bad. It was like 4 seasons. So after 98, Toho deemed that Godzilla Zilla because there's nothing godly about him.
Oh, right? Yeah, some
shit.
fucking shade.
That's what they said. They said that in a quote, and they were like, we're going to take our rights back, and we're going to show you how a Godzilla movie is made.
Yeah.
Which starts the Millennium series in 1999 that goes to
Oh,
about
shit.
2004. Then Godzilla, for some reason, another 9 to 10 year break, and he comes back with the new series, which is unnamed at this moment right now.
Oh.
And it has the...
Is it because it's like still being made?
It's still
and
being
shit?
made. So
Okay.
we got the anime trilogy, Shin Godzilla, and then all the legendary pictures, Godzilla 2014 and King of the Monsters, and then upcoming Godzilla vs. Kong.
You talking about the anime series like on Netflix?
Yes.
Okay.
That is considered in the new we don't have a name for this series yet, so I'm just going to call it the new series.
So pretty much anything anyone makes Godzilla kind of gets pushed into this category of the time period it came out into. Like, no matter what it is, it's still a part of that era.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
So, like, even though I consider, people hate the 98 one, it's still technically a millennium.
Right, it's part of that category. Okay. I actually like the anime ones.
Yeah.
They were pretty, like, there was a lot of sci-fi going on in those,
I
and
have not seen it yet.
it's worth it to go watch them. The third one is kind of like, it drags a bit in the beginning, but it eventually gets to like the action.
Fun fact about Terror of Mechagodzilla, though. It was the lowest grossing Godzilla film in theaters in Japan ever.
What?
Until Godzilla Saves the Earth, the anime one.
Oh, that's fair. Wait, so what is the highest grossing film? Do you know?
Yes. It is Shin Godzilla.
Oh, okay. So the opposite one. Okay.
Yeah, before that, it was Mothra versus Godzilla in 92.
Yeah.
And then before that, it was the original. But now Shin Godzilla, if you didn't know, it won a Japanese Oscar.
Yeah.
And won many high accolades and awards.
That's awesome.
So, should we just go into Shin Godzilla, you think?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. This movie is such a good Godzilla movie that it does a weird thing where you actually care about the people.
Yeah. It's really interesting because this is like one of the first times where I actually kind of gave a shit about the human aspect of the movie. Because a lot of the movies that you can kind of put the human aspect in the background and you kind of just don't care that much and whatnot. But in this one, it's very much, it follows along the lines of like the bureaucracy of the Japanese government and how they deal with Godzilla at this point in the movie is basically a natural disaster that's going on with them and whatnot.
Yeah, they scramble the first like 30 minutes because the aqueduct in like Tokyo Bay or something like that is just collapsed and there's steam coming out of it.
It's like the underwater freeway.
Yeah.
Is what is like it's collapsed in on in the very beginning.
And they're like, whose department does this fall under? How do we know? Oh, we got to evacuate like the highway real quick. Shit. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, well, we need to go to a meeting. And then it's just like several meetings at one after the other. Like, oh, this is for agriculture. So we're going to go over there.
I remember well, I mean, when they collapse they have a shot of the inside of a car through its windshield, like driving underneath this when it starts collapsing, and it doesn't look like water; it looks like blood raining down on top of them inside of there. It doesn't look like water to me exactly.
It isn't. It is.
Yeah,
blood.
Yeah, it's blood. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
so we find our main character Yaguchi as a bureaucrat consulting everyone and the PM about what this might be, and they're like, well, we don't know. It might be an underground volcano. It might be a new landform. And then he's like, sir, consider it maybe a large animal life form. And everyone's just like, oh, shut up, dude. You're enough jokes. Man,
this is literally every disaster movie where there's a scientist like trying to tell people what it is. And they're like, you don't know what it is. We need to figure this out.
A big thing that I recognize about this one, I did a little bit of reading, and a lot of people were saying that it was supposed to be a representation of the recent tsunami that hit.
Yeah.
That hit Japan not too long ago. I don't know the name of the disaster itself, or one of the it caused like the nuclear fallout
in Fukushima.
Yeah,
in Fukushima. There you go.
It was like a meltdown,
and it was supposed to be sort of like a metaphor for that.
Like kind of how the government was handling things during that time.
Yeah, because it was very scrambled.
Would you say then that the film offered a sort of like critique of what the government had done?
Easily,
yeah.
I think that is what they were going for.
Yeah.
Just as so the 1954 one was critiquing the world for dropping the H-bombs.
Yeah, exactly.
And in many respects, this is a modern retelling of the 1954 movie.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I mean, but it doesn't have. Does the 1954 movie have like the lungfish, like evolving Godzilla bit that this one has?
No, this is the first time we've ever seen Godzilla evolve in real time.
Yeah, we know changes up powers.
We know he's had Godzuki, little baby Godzillas every now and then. Yeah. Disgusting sons of Godzilla.
Yeah, but he's got like. In this one, he shows up and he just kind of like wanders on land, and he's got big lungs and they like leak blood everywhere.
He starts as a tail.
Oh, as just a tail, basically.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, it's an actual life form, and then they find out that well, there's no possibility of this thing going on land. Let's inform the press.
What the fuck?
So the PM gets his suit ready. He goes up there. We don't know what this life form is, but we're gonna study it, and we're gonna we have an idea that it will probably never come on land. And then a informant comes in and whispers something in his ear, and he goes, what? And then cuts to Godzilla in a baby form. They actually have a name for this baby form. Kamata-kun.
Oh my god.
And it's adorable to a lot of people in Japan because it's basically a weird chicken Godzilla looking thing.
Gigantic bulging eyes. It's really goofy looking, actually.
And it's just decimated. It's in the river. It's throwing a bunch of boats, and that was a lot of the imagery for the tsunami in Japan.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And it's pretty devastating. So they're Go ahead.
Well, you mentioned that they're going to like meeting after meeting after meeting, so they basically just don't really get anything done.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out what's going on, how to stop it. They even call in some environmental experts, and it's probably one of the funnier things in the movie. The guy's like, I see the footage, but I don't see how I don't know if it's real or not, so I can't really give you my scientific basis off of it. I have my credibility on the line.
I feel like that's the most accurate representation of how like global warming is being handled at the moment. where they're just like, oh, well, like, we don't know if this theory or whatever you guys are talking about is actually real.
Right. And it's really funny because they're like, I have a low-ranking individual who could probably identify and help us with this. They're like, oh, well, call her in. Well, the thing is, she's in college. So you have the prime minister and the entire cabinet looking at this college girl on her laptop, just laying down truth.
Nice.
Just like, it could come on land. It has gills, and it's acting like a lungfish. It could possibly come on land and walk.
Yep.
And they're like, no. There's no way it could walk. It would be crushed by the sheer weight of itself.
So, kind of like connected to Godzilla evolving. To my understanding, Godzilla sort of evolves as needed, right? Like, anytime he was met with an adversary or like a weird situation, he would evolve to like be able to get through it.
I would say that from my limited experience, Mur probably knows a bit more than I do. But
Yeah.
from my limited experience, I would say no, because this is one of the first times this is the first time you see Godzilla evolve like this. And he usually evolves like in response to the military doing action, like performing some action against him or something like that. And most of the movies, he's just a brawler.
Yeah.
He shows up like either buried under the sand or in the sea, and he's ready to fuck shit up.
Because in the animation one, they discover things about Godzilla, not necessarily that he evolves, but that there's certain things about Godzilla that don't allow regular weapons to work on him. Like, I think what they establish is Godzilla has this like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a sound wave that kind of comes from its body that repels like all of the guns and things that they're firing at it. And the only way to like get rid of it is to like attack a certain spot on the back that gets rid of like the EMP blast that it shoots out to them. But like just weird shit like that.
Godzilla has EMP blast in that movie?
Yeah, like it takes out like all of their technology and shit.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the Muto from the 2014 one. Dude, that was awesome.
Well, explain about what that monster was.
So there's the thing with the legendary monsters in Godzilla. There's a organization called Monarch, and they study these. There are cryptozoologists.
Just a quick thing, Mur currently has a hat that has the Monarch name and symbol on it, which is fucking sick. Where'd you get that?
I got it at Goji Center off of Etsy.
Is that like a specific Etsy shop?
It is specific, and it's kaiju themed.
Oh, we'll link this off so
Yeah.
you guys can go check it out.
It's-
All right, go
it's
ahead. I
fucking
had to
great.
geek out over it because it's fucking cool. I want one of the Monarch
It's very
ones.
subtle. If you know those new Godzilla movies, it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, what up, dude? So Monarch, they're a cryptozoologist. They study these creatures and they try to keep it a secret from the main.
What is a
people.
cryptozoologist?
That's like, we discovered a new species, but this could kill all of humanity. It just destroyed half a fucking block.
Gotcha.
Let's just say that was an earthquake.
Yeah.
And so that's what happens. There is a Muto in Japan, and it literally eats like the nuclear reactor so it could get bigger, so it could respawn and have babies. And in the movie, Bryan Cranston and his son, I forget what his son's name is, but they go and they check out the area that was eaten up by this thing, and they find it emerging and finally ready to fucking go and get pregnant.
Right. Oh, that's right. It's like a cocoon that they're like, it's kind of just sitting there and they're observing, and then it finally fucking opens.
And the first thing it does is it lays its mighty meat hook on the floor and just EMP blast everything in like a 5 to 10 mile radius.
It takes down fucking everything. I remember that. That's fucking crazy.
It's terrifying.
That's like easily one of the most terrifying things when an animal or some sort of natural creature can send out an EMP blast, like just naturally from its body.
Right. Like, it does remind me of like bats somewhat because they have echo and sonar.
Yeah.
But on a wider, more
theirs is more
scale.
for like locating things, not necessarily like
disrupting.
Yeah, disrupting all the shit around them.
But it's fucking cool.
Hell yeah.
So this is the first instance that we have seen Godzilla evolve.
Yeah.
And he is evolving in real time.
Mm-hmm.
So he's destroying the city. People are freaking out. They don't know what to do. It is established that these people in power are trying to figure out how to deal with this. And before they could really get anywhere, Godzilla is back in the ocean, right, Mitch?
Yeah. He like appears, and then he goes back. He goes into like one of the main bays. He like comes out of the ocean and then goes into like one of the bays of I don't remember the name of the city.
I don't
remember. It's like when he walks through a city, and then he gets to like a bay, and then he's heading towards the river after that. But he sits in the water for a bit, and then reemerges, and then he starts growing arms. At first, he just kind of scrapes his body along the ground and just sort of aimlessly stumbles through structures.
Then he jumps on like a building and like tries to like get up on his legs.
Yeah.
And he finally does, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, this is terrifying!"
And then his arms start forming.
So he gets in the water and he leaves, and Tokyo is devastated. But not Tokyo, but Japan is devastated by this, and they figure out, okay, we are going to have to declare a state of emergency and a state of war. And they're like trying to figure this out in print. Like, how can we legally say that we could do this without the U.S. or other people interfering with our interactions? They're like, how do we legally get the terms right? Because we've never faced a giant creature like this.
Yeah, I mean, one of their things that they struggle with is like, how do we bring levels of military grade weaponry into civilian areas? And they actually end up calling upon like the U.S. and the Germans and whatnot to help them. They call upon German scientists later. They call upon the U.S. to help them bomb it. They get like a whole bunch of different countries to come help them.
It's pretty intense. But Yaguchi, our main character, gets fed up with how slow the things in the bureaucracy are taking. So he puts everything into motion with his own plan called the Yaguchi plan. Kind of self-centered, if you ask me. But it's basically a bunch of nerds. He's like, we're calling upon all you nerds, geeks, creeps, weirdos, basically general pain in the bureaucracy's ass to be a part of this ragtag team to figure out how to stop this monster. And you, no matter what your rank is, you could speak freely here and add a line, and you could just share information with each other. No restrictions applied. And it's really cool because that's how they made the stealth bomber.
One of the fun scenes, I think, is where they're like, we've brought every ragtag ruffian, like hacker and like, low class like student into this room right now. So, and that was like one of my favorite scenes.
Here's all the information we have. Do what you can.
Yeah, exactly. Do what you can. We want everyone to band together to take this thing down.
And the college student, the woman college student from before, she's like, look, they're like, well, what do we know about Godzilla? What has he done? And they're like, well, he hasn't really done anything. All he's done is just walk. Like and they find the pattern.
So they're just like observing.
They're just observing and trying to figure what the hell this thing is. And one of the other side characters, he starts screaming. He's like, yo, look at this. Look at this. And they figure out that the radiation is the same area that Godzilla was walking in. So they figure that Godzilla is radiation, basically, and lives off of it, and that's how he lives.
Okay. Well, shit.
Let's see. So we've gotten to the point where he's walked back on land, started growing arms and his spines on the back of his body and whatnot. And this is probably like where Godzilla starts becoming a very horrifying looking monster. He goes from like this goofy baby looking thing to like an actual like agent of destruction, essentially. And he looks really good. He looks really close to like the Showa era Godzilla in a way, but just way more like realized and much more visceral looking, I would say.
He's not the chonky version.
Yeah, exactly.
Godzilla.
That's the thing. Like in the Showa era, they had like 15 suits, man. They had so many different
styles.
This is like a remake of the original one. It looks like a mushroom cloud almost.
Yeah.
There's a lot more hardened and rough exterior.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from what I was from like
stuff.
Seeing all the different depictions, what I understood was that Godzilla sort of changed through the eras from representing like one thing to another. You mentioned earlier that he sort of became like a representation of like fears for people who originally made it, so like people from Japan, especially in regards to like the bombs and sort of like the American people and what might happen in like another war. did that like change as the more movies were made, like as they try to like gear it towards kids and whatnot?
Oh, the design of Godzilla.
Yeah.
Yeah, as it stands, the original Godzilla was supposed to be the one and done. This is it. This is my monster movie.
Yeah.
We can make a lot of money if we make more movies, though. So they had a lot of different suits for a lot of different things. They just changed it a lot, and Godzilla slowly turned from a monster of horror and evil and like the disgustingness of man into a kid-friendly, like, hey, this is
he's
the
like
defender
heroic,
of Earth.
like like he's heroic. He's the king of monsters. Like he's like the one you were rooting for, and then like he became like the protector of Earth at some point, didn't he?
Oh yeah, many times. And even in some movies, you see kids about to die, and then
he saves them.
And then Godzilla just boom hits them with the atomic blast, and they're like, Godzilla.
That's like the fucking blast from his mouth, right?
Yeah. Most people think it comes from his belly. I think it does too.
What do you mean?
I mean, it's very established that Godzilla is
like
radioactive.
It's focused in his mouth and shoots out there, but it comes from like his belly.
Yeah, it has to, because like the dude eats nuclear energy to live.
That's true.
There's a lot of times in a lot of Godzilla movies, there's like either he's like immune to like electrical wires, like that was seen as a weakness of him as well. So they'll try to like throw him into electrical wires and such like that. And then there's other ones where he's actually powered up by the electricity at the same time. So it's like there's really not really consistent lore with Godzilla. It really varies depending on which movie you're watching.
They just keep adding stuff in.
They vary it from movie to movie, like Mitch said. But for the most part, a lot of the Godzilla movies do not connect. They are not streamlined in a certain universe. There are many divergent timelines, and it's
But
all
at the
over
very
place.
least, all of the monsters that they do create exist in the same universe.
Yeah, that's how they make like Destroy All Monsters, where you have like 8+ monsters trying to kick King
those
Ghidorah's
games are
ass.
so good. Oh my god, I love those games. But back to Shin Godzilla, when he finally is realized and gets up there, they decide, okay, now he's walking around and destroying buildings, and he's much more like within himself, and he's reached like his third form, I think they say, or his fourth form.
Yeah.
And then they start bringing in the artillery. They start lining up tanks and whatnot, and just start trying to blow them up.
Before that. This is when they bring in the helicopters first.
Oh yeah, to like drop bombs on them. That's right.
They're like, "Can we shoot?" And then you see this amazing scene where the ground troopers like, "We have no permission to shoot, but we are ready to shoot. Tell us when we're ready." And then it goes to another person. "Do they have permission to shoot?" Then it goes to another person. "Do they have permission to shoot? We need request from the PM." Goes to the military advisor. "PM, can we shoot?" "Yes." "Wait, we have confirmation that there are people on the ground." "Wait, do not shoot. Call off the attack." And it's like it goes through like 7 people just for them to do one action.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So definitely a criticism of the bureaucracy in Japanese government.
Oh yeah.
And then after that part, Godzilla, he does mess up a couple areas for a little bit, and then ends up going back in the water, right?
Yeah.
And that's when we're introduced to the American character, the lady from America who is the president's advisor. And she's definitely like kind of, I don't know, she's just kind of pretentious, but in a fun way. Like she pokes fun at the main character a lot. Like, well, this is what the information the U.S. has, and well, you know, if U.S. were at the helm, we'd do this. Who decides who does it in your country again? And it was just like, oh snap! You just fucking called out the entire Japanese government with like one quip.
It sounds very American.
Yeah, she's like wearing a leather jacket and like a dress and shades and shit.
Like the stereotype of the American in other countries.
She even says like, when I'm going to be president someday, like when I'm president, we'll see what goes down there. She makes a comment about that later, like trying at the end of the movie. But so they get to the point where they try to fire with different guns from their helicopters.
Yeah, and then Godzilla goes back, and then they're just trying to study it. She's like, here's all the information we have. This is called Godzilla. This is what the Maki...
Gojira.
And that's what they say. Its Japanese name is Gojira, which has always been his name.
Yeah.
But there's a side character, a scientist named Maki, that we see his boat in the first scene of the movie. And there's a pamphlet there and an origami bird, which is good to depict. And his boat is empty. And a lot of people, like, they're trying to wonder what is up with this scientist. But he had the theory that there was a monster in the ocean, and he named it Godzilla. It lives off radiation, and it is going to do something. And we must do as we must, is what he says in his notes.
I don't remember. Does Godzilla actually stand for a specific name? Like, or does it mean something?
It means, like, gorilla and whale. Gojira.
Oh, shit. Okay.
The gorilla whale.
Yeah, I was like, what? All right. Well, fuck.
So she's like, here's Maki. We have all this information on him. And then they provide a giant, it looks like a cell chart, but it's just a bunch of different colors. And nobody can make sense of this. It's gibberish to everyone. So they're trying to figure this out. And then who do you think is fucking coming back? Godzilla. And this is the part where the movie succeeds. In the entirety of the movie, they've used the original Akira Ifukube soundtrack from the original Godzilla, as well as other Godzillas such as the Invasion of Astro Monster and Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. So they have a lot of music from the original Toho films.
Yes, they do.
And it works awesomely.
Yeah, they do a really good job of implementing those older tracks and songs and whatnot.
The bureaucracy. Oh, by the way, the entire time that this is happening, we're evacuating many, many wards, by the way.
Yeah.
So everyone's freaking out. You know, Japan is like going crazy. They're like, whoa, is it just me, or has his size like doubled?
Yeah.
He is like 60, maybe 80 meters tall. And he looks fierce. He's like blood red and black. And one of my favorite shots in this movie is when his tail sweeps over the village.
Yeah.
It's chilling, man.
It's like, so big.
That's one of the reasons why I've showed this movie to a lot of people, is it puts the fear back into what Godzilla was supposed to be. Just something that you can't control and something that's devastating.
Right.
And then that's when they do the tank offensive, because he's going straight towards Tokyo.
Yeah, and then they line up all the tanks across one of the rivers that's in Japan, like one of the main rivers in the city, and they just start unloading all their artillery and everything on him that they can.
Headshots, gut shots, everything. Nothing, like 60,000 rounds in 2 seconds or something like that, and nothing.
Yep. And then he just, like, throws a bridge at them.
A fucking bridge.
He like levels them down with a bridge, destroys their command post, and then they're like, oh my god, what do we do now?
I mean, I know you mentioned how the movies kind of vary based off of like what can happen for his powers, but is there anything that could bring down Godzilla so far, or has he just kind of been defeating everything that's been put up against him?
In this movie or in general?
Just in general, like across all of the movies.
In the first, from what I've read, in like I think the first Godzilla movie, they defeat him by using a device that cuts off the oxygen around him. I believe that's one of them, and they use that basically suffocate him to death. Oh, is how they kill him.
It is called the Oxygen Destroyer.
There you go.
It was made by a Dr. Serizawa in the first film, and he believes that he didn't want to use it at first. He was like, if I use this, everyone in the world will want me to like show them how to use this, and will try at everything to take my notes so they could use this against people.
Ooh.
So he's like, you know what? If anyone's going to go down there and use this oxygen destroyer that I made, it's going to be me.
Right.
He goes down there, turns the oxygen destroyer on, pulls on his diver thing, cuts the line, and dies with Godzilla because he wants to die with his secret.
Damn, that's hard.
Yeah.
Right.
And you saw King of the Monsters, right?
Yeah.
The crazy thing is that the oxygen destroyer is in that movie too. Remember?
Oh, shit.
They're like, oh, we're gonna test this new thing, this new weapon, because we're trying to kill King Ghidorah and Godzilla. They fire the oxygen destroyer, just fucking kicks the piss out of Godzilla. Ghidorah's fine because Ghidorah's not from Earth.
Yeah, he's the alien one. Yeah, exactly.
So there's like, you basically just destroyed the only defender of Earth. Good job.
Yep. Oh, brutal.
It is very poetic though, because at the end, near the third act of King of the Monsters, the Dr. Serizawa in that one awakens Godzilla by setting off a nuke.
Yeah.
Being right down there with him. So it's like very I don't know, just a beautiful.
It's like an homage to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Reference and homage sort of
Instead
deal
of,
to that.
destroying Godzilla and killing him, we're awakening him so he could fucking defend Earth again.
Yeah, to help us out. So after they do the tanks, they unload all the tanks on this Shin Godzilla.
He's heading straight for Tokyo.
Yeah. He busts through their bullshit, doesn't really care too much, and then I think that's when they get like an American alliance in with this, and they bring in their stealth bombers.
Yeah.
And then they start dropping like really heavy like bombs on him that actually work.
Yeah. He's
that actually
bleeding.
cause damage, and they make him bleed and whatnot, like gallons of blood being dumped all over, just tons of it all over the place, cracking his skin and stuff like that.
Is most of the city evacuated at this point?
Most of it, yeah, I would say they're still
in
working on it.
subways or just out of there.
They don't really show a lot of civilian casualties and whatnot in the movie from my memory. It's a lot of just cities getting blown up or trampled, things like that, buildings going down. But they definitely allude to the fact that they are able to hurt him. So he's not invincible at this point. And then this is when you get one of like the coolest shots, like one of the best scenes in this movie, where Godzilla's back starts lighting up.
Yeah.
And then he like starts breathing like this black smoke out of his mouth. His lower jaw like separates also.
It's like Predator style.
Yeah, it's like almost predatory in a way. And he unleashes like this black smoke that turns to fire, that turns like blue, and then turns into a solid beam that is just a beam of concentrated like nuclear energy that he just carves paths through buildings and starts leveling the city.
As a welder, it is exactly the same way that an oxyacetylene torch works.
Oh.
So it starts with flame, then you turn on the heat. Or it starts with smoke, then it turns to flame, then you cut it off, and then make the actual, like...
The beam. Yeah.
And he uses that to kill the first stealth bomber.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, gotta go for round 2. Gotta get payback on this bitch.
Yeah.
And they drop more stealth bombers, and then... Oh, dude... It's so good.
And then his beam lights up like a disco ball of death.
The dorsal fins just
from all of the fins on the back.
And then makes a whole bunch of beams that just incinerate all the bombs and all of the stealth bombers. And then they were
cuts
kind of
Tokyo in half.
Yeah, yep, that's the thing.
And
it's a really great scene, and it has this really dramatic, like sad music the whole time, as if
the music's perfect for this
it's
scene.
so good.
Makes for all of the drama.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the American visor is like Godzilla, truly a god incarnate.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
I love great lines like that. I feel like they included something like that in most of the film. Somebody will come out and say something like that. It makes it sound really epic.
Right. And the thing is, after that, I mean, morale is low. The entire president or the prime minister and his cabinet all got blown up in a helicopter. So you know who it lands on? Because all the cabinet is dead. The PM is now the head of the Department of Agriculture.
Oh shit!
And he's just like trying to eat his noodles. Like, the fuck do I do?
Right. What do I do now? Fuck.
His buddy's just like, drink this water before you start freaking out.
So Godzilla enters a dormant state.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this like towards?
He gets tired.
This is more towards the end then.
It's getting towards the third act.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Godzilla is in a dormant state, and he will regain consciousness within 2 weeks. At the same time, the U.S. has declared Tokyo basically salvage, and that we're gonna drop the third H-bomb on Japan to destroy Godzilla.
Isn't there like conspiracy theories that the first bombs were dropped to try to kill the first version of Godzilla?
That was in the 2014 one.
That's right. That's the story that they came up with. They're like,
the Bikini Atoll test was to kill Godzilla.
They weren't testing it. Yeah, they were trying to kill Godzilla.
That's a part of the Monarch with the crypto shit.
Oh,
where it's like, yeah, we're testing a nuclear thing. No, we were trying to kill Godzilla.
That's such a good story, especially when he explains about the watch that he has that's been stopped in time at exactly the time that they dropped a nuclear bomb, and he's like explaining it to him. Like, that's like such a good story, and like it ties in so well to what we were talking about earlier about the fear of the bombs being dropped on that area and like how the people felt about it. So like a nice sort of like tip of their hat to something that's been shown in other films and sort of like the Americanized version of it.
Well, that is the character that goes down to Godzilla when he's
Yep.
mortally wounded and sacrifices himself to juice up Godzilla.
Oh fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
Yo,
So-
yeah.
So
Plus that actor is awesome.
after he is dormant, they're able to study him for those 2 weeks, and they find out that he has basically that he has nuclear blood running through him. Something along those lines, I believe, and they figure that they can maybe slow him down with a coagulant, something that like will basically stop his blood from flowing and just freeze him in place.
Because of the blood and like the nuclear energy, he is asexual and can reproduce himself. So they're also afraid that if we don't stop this now, there's going to be like 15 Godzillas,
Right.
and Earth is fucked.
Just populates all of Earth.
Yeah, with a bunch of Godzillas. But the interesting bit here is when they form the coagulant. I forget the name that they call the coagulant, but it's actually based on an old Japanese legend.
Oh, the Yakiori plan.
Thank you. But it's
The what?
The Yakiori plan. Tell them about that one.
The Yakiori plan is where they basically just unload as much on Godzilla as possible to stall him so that they can feed him this coagulant. And so, but it's based off of this legend, which I want to talk about really quick, and called the Legend of Yamada no Orochi. And it basically takes place with this 8-headed Hydra that comes to this elderly couple's house, and they sacrifice their daughters to it. They have 8 daughters, and they sacrifice one to each of the heads to make it go away. And on the last one, they don't want to sacrifice their last daughter. So they devise a plan where apparently in Japanese lore, Hydras love sake. So they brew like this gnarly big batch of sake for it, and then
Nice.
put that in place. And then the Hydra like drinks all of it and then falls asleep. And so that's like part of the legend and whatnot of it. So I felt that was a cool thing to bring up.
Hell yeah.
So the heat is on. America has given them 2 weeks to figure out a plan and to stop Godzilla, or else we're dropping the H-bomb. And that's the same
Well,
amount of
fuck.
time that Godzilla is going to wake up.
Right.
So these guys have 2 weeks to fucking figure out how to make enough coagulant and to make a coagulant that works.
Mm-hmm.
And they're freaking out. So they're trying to get connections, and I'll connect it back to Mitch said. So they needed the high-speed internet to be able to figure out how to data mine for the genetic cells.
Yeah.
They fold the clues that Maki left into origami-like figures so they can figure out how his blood works.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Oh,
when they
damn.
figure out that that's what exact coagulant that they need.
Yeah.
And then after that, they need tanker trucks, and they don't have any more in Japan, so they call upon China to send them many, many tanker trucks with extended arms that could shoot coagulant.
Yep.
And
I think they get the high-speed internet from the Germans. They
Yes.
like call upon some German scientists
Nice.
and are just like, hey, can you guys help us? And he's like, no, they can't know our technology. And then the other lady German is just like, how are you not human? Won't you just help our human brethren over
Right,
here,
yeah.
you asshole? And then he's like, fine, I guess. And then they do
Right.
it.
And then we're seeing the American advisor. She is going to Yaguchi and saying they're gonna drop the H bomb, and it's gonna happen. I don't want to be here when they drop the 3rd bomb on my grandmother's homeland.
Oh God.
Yeah.
And she said, if the president said if this were to happen in New York, he would do the same exact thing, which I call bullshit on. It's New York, man.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Like money.
There's so much shit that happens in New York in any random fiction story.
Yeah, so much stuff in New York for sure. But they get over to the point where they start using their light trains to throw bombs at the buildings around
They
him.
also have to have the counter. They have to have the counter extended, so they ask help from the French.
Oh yeah, that's right, huh? Yeah, they have the counteroffensive as well. So they ask the French to come help. They basically just gather everybody. They get a whole bunch of different countries to come help them out.
So Miss America over here is like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking join you on your plan. Whatever you need from America, you let us know. And he's like, I need drones, lots and lots of drones. She's like, okay, I'll just build Japan later. It's cool. So then Operation Yakiori begins.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about that?
They use the light trains and they began using them to like level buildings on top of Godzilla after he's woken up.
They wake him up with the light trains.
Oh yeah, they blow light trains up on him, and then he wakes up and starts rampaging around. And then they start dropping, like basically using them to blow up buildings to drop on him. They use the drones as well to also bomb the buildings and Godzilla to slow him down. And when they stun him, they drive this little team up with trucks to like put the coagulant in his mouth. And the first team gets incinerated right afterwards. They get like 25% done. He wakes up and then beams all of them.
Oh,
it's so intense. The thing is, these are regular civilians. And that's what I notice about a lot of these Godzilla movies is it's like the brotherhood of man coming together to fight a common evil.
Right, yeah. There's usually like a team up. There's not really people like bickering over where they're from and whatnot. They're like, no, we got to take care of this larger problem.
Like, I remember it's very ridiculous how they do this, but in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla in 2002, they're using Mechagodzilla as a robot to fight him. And he runs out and depletes out of power. So they're like, call the energy companies. We got to recharge him. But, sir, this will black out all of Japan. Just do it. And they're like, you know what?
Oh, my God.
Give him the power. They send all the power to Mechagodzilla and he kicks his ass. But they use the drones to make him deplete all his atomic power. Remember? Like, he has... Also, his tail shoots fucking lasers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ridiculous. It has a face. It has, like, a skull face in it. It shoots out lasers from his tail.
What the fuck?
So they're like just trying to deplete him, and then they do impact bombing and drop 3 buildings on him.
Yep.
That's how they're able to get the first team up there and shoot the coagulant, but they get fucked over.
Yeah, because he wakes up momentarily and just blasts them, and then gets up and starts roaming around again. And then they basically do that plan over and over again until they filled him with enough coagulant.
Godzilla stands up, does a mighty roar, and then instantly freezes.
Yeah. And then he's just this statue in the middle of Tokyo. And then
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
15 minutes left on the counter before they drop the H-bomb.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. And the American lady's like, if he moves again, the counter still goes, but I don't think he will.
Right.
And it's all nice and everyone's happy. And then there's like a thing where she's like, I think you'll be a good Japanese counterpart to my American president when I become it. And he's like, maybe. And she's like, so you shared information with France? It's like, I shared information with everybody.
With the world, man.
Right.
And then you slowly see this frozen Godzilla, and then it goes up and it zooms in on his tail. And that's when you see like 7 humanoid Godzillas spawning from his tail, caught in time, frozen.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to black and hits you with the original theme from the 1954 movie.
Yeah.
Nice callback.
Yeah. It was definitely one of the cooler Godzilla movies I've seen. It blew the American one out of the water for sure.
Which one, 2014?
Yeah, 2014 one.
2014 had very little Godzilla, but
and that's what I hated about it.
I find
Yeah, don't you get the intro to him when he like shows up and does his roar? That's like the first
In
time
Hawaii.
you see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is pretty sick, honestly.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I want to see more touristy people just like, oh, no.
Oh my God. You know what that makes me think of? I think it was the newest Jurassic Park movie where the dude's running away from the dinosaurs invading, but he grabs his 2 drinks from the table and runs away with his alcoholic beverages. And
Must not spill my limerita.
yeah, that's like one of the funniest scenes in any of those movies. But that's what it made me think of.
Yeah.
So how does it get to the conclusion? How does it end?
That's how it
That
ends.
is how it ends. How
That's the ending.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the
They get
ending. They
enough
freeze
coagulant
him.
in it,
That's
and it required the help of 3 countries and a lot
Gotcha.
of civilians.
All right.
Yep.
And the half-life of Godzilla is like 2 or 3 months, so Tokyo could go back to normal relatively within a year. But they have to keep they realize that they do have to keep freezing him if they want to do that.
So do they move him somewhere? Do they leave
I
him
have
in
no
spot?
idea.
Yeah, they don't really cover that
Oh,
part.
gotcha,
It basically
okay.
ends like that, and he's just standing where he is. So if they're gonna do more, are they gonna follow up with more Shin Godzilla stuff, or
No.
really they're just doing that film? That was it.
That's the thing. The director, the guy who made Evangelion, he said, I feel
that guy.
Yeah. I feel like it is said and done, and that's what it is. It is its own film, and it doesn't need a sequel.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I'm fine with that.
It was a cool Godzilla movie, though, for sure. I really enjoyed it. But maybe now it's time to move on to the terror of Mechagodzilla and do like a little.
Because I feel like this was not the opposite, but much more campy and fun, and not quite so serious.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of espionage in this one, because I mean, you got the premise that because it takes place from the first movie, where aliens have sent like a disguised Mechagodzilla to defeat normal Godzilla, and then Godzilla, while fighting him, discovers that he is a robot, and then
what?
he is the it's funny because he does the weird head turn, like, what? How could this be?
Oh right, yeah, like pieces falling off and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then he starts fighting the Mechagodzilla, and Mechagodzilla is just a giant, just has every missile ever coming out of him, laser beam, everything shooting out of this creature. And and Godzilla like rips his head off and goes back into the ocean after throwing the head in there.
Yeah.
And then the story picks up again, where they're looking for the head of Mechagodzilla and the
nuclear submarine.
Yeah, the nuclear submarine.
I love those bits. So it's
so
like
silly.
Little miniatures that they just dropped into like a fish tank or something. And like you had someone off to the side like swooshing the water to make it do a little spiral. It's just so funny because like you could tell it was just out of control. And they had that, and they had this weird figurine that was supposed to be one of the monsters, but it the arms and legs didn't move.
Which monster? It's Titanosaur, I think, is the introduction of this.
Titanosaurus, yes.
Titanosaurus.
His debut film and the only one he is in. That's the thing. The Showa series does a lot to just be like, hey, here's a monster. Okay, you didn't like that, or you did like, I don't know what, but we're not going to continue with it. Like Jet Jaguar and Godzilla versus Megalon, and Megalon, two big favorites. Like Jet Jaguar is fucking awesome. Would you agree?
Yeah.
If you had to guess, how many different monsters are there in the Godzilla movies?
At least 35.
Holy
just as much as the movies.
Just like, yeah, right. So a new one every movie.
Yeah, and there's the thing. There's a lot of crossovers.
Gotcha.
So like Mothra, Rodan, and Varan all had their own movies, and then they came together and Destroy All Monsters.
Destroy All Monsters.
Which was supposed to be the last Godzilla movie of the Showa era, but then they realized, we could just like make Godzilla movies for kids, and they'll eat it up, and they'll love it. So Titanosaurus, he's like a big red dragon / fish.
Yeah, like a long
creature.
neck.
They call him a dinosaur, though.
Kind of sounds like an elephant when he screams.
It does. It does sound like an elephant.
This is a tortured elephant noise.
I keep thinking about the really bad dub.
I keep thinking about the ridiculous side plot with like the girl and the main guy.
Yeah, and also Japanese Colonel Sanders. Who's just like, no, legit, like, you know what Colonel Sanders looks like, KFC. He's got the white hair, glasses, his little weird goatee. It's literally that guy, but a Japanese character.
And he knows about the dinosaurs, and the science community
like
fucked him over, and he's very upset about it. So now he works with aliens.
I love that because he's just like, they all like rejected me and told me I was wrong, and he's like, no, look at him now, and he's just like, it's very typical story of like the scientist getting what he thinks he deserves by having people come and ask him for help.
This was not as boring of a human plot as I expected it to be.
No,
it was kind of fun.
Yeah,
it was kind of
exactly.
fun is that they're trying to find the alien hideout of these really dorky looking aliens with their big goofy. They all dress really silly too, especially in the 70s. I love
that the aliens are wearing the weirdest fucking outfits.
Their hats have like weird bulbous things.
It's
on
always
them.
Got to be
like
silver.
Tesla coils on their heads.
Yep. Always got to be silver. Always got to have like the weirdest outfits because obviously aliens don't know about fashion.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, listen to this Devo album. Look at the album cover and just like make something similar to that. So we're introduced to the main character, who I can't remember his first name for shit, and the doctor's daughter.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, does the professor still live here? No, he died 5 years ago. Please leave me alone. Wait, we need to know. Like, we believe that the dinosaur is here. We believe he was right, and he's a man of his word. please leave me alone. I burned all his notes. Goodbye. Shuts the door on him.
Yep.
And she goes into the secret
Head
underground
straight
lair.
downstairs.
And the main scientist and the alien are having a drink of wine, discussing how they're going to take over the world and make a new fucking Tokyo. So really fucking convoluted alien subplot, but 2 out of the 3 species of alien have had their world eaten up by black holes, and this is the last surviving group.
You know what? That's a pretty like solid backstory.
Yeah.
For like such a like small quirky film.
Mm-hmm.
So for them to be like, no, the reason we're doing this is because a black hole's eating up all of our planets, and like we need to figure.
We
this
need a
shit
new
out.
home.
So it's like that's actually a pretty cool sci-fi story. I like that background story.
They show the city for like half a second, but it looks pretty fucking dope.
Yeah.
It looks like something off of like old school Disney.
Oh, gotcha.
Tomorrowland.
Oh yeah, huh? Fucking Tomorrowland.
They work together. They decide that they're going to try to use Titanosaurus.
Yeah.
And the new MG2 Mechagodzilla, the second one. And so they're going to have them both show up and then have Titanosaurus defeat Godzilla.
Yeah.
So that like Mechagodzilla can reign supreme. And then they discover some technology where they can use sound to control Titanosaurus, and basically like they assist, like the humans actually assist Godzilla in this movie.
They figure out that they using certain waves, if they could find the right frequency, can control the creature. And then we got to talk about the set designs though.
Right. So you could tell they spent a lot of time on the sets for the aliens and on the fucking sets that get destroyed during those battles. Is actually really fucking cool. Like this has to have been like an elevated set kind of up on a little platform, so that they had areas that would just crumble in, and then the guys in the suits, they just went fucking ham on destroying them and like wrestling with each other.
Whole city blocks are like exploding in fire.
Yeah, you actually get pretty amped up because you just get like, if you can just suspend your disbelief, because you all know they're in suits, but you know, I remember all of us were stoked when Godzilla shows up and just like bangs both his fists together like he's ready to rock. Oh my
god, dude!
Like childlike glee came out of me.
You know why when you see that. I fucking love that? Because it reminds me of fucking Big O. Because that's what the robot does when he comes out. It like pounds its fists together to like make sure everything is running right. And so he just comes out ready to fucking rumble, but does that with his fist and then just fucking tackles him. Yeah. He just runs and tackles fucking Mechagodzilla, and you're like, oh, fucking shit. Oh, shit. We lost our shit watching it during the fighting scenes, which is really funny.
You're just like, you're throwing air punches. You're like, fucking get
you're all
shit.
into it.
Yeah. Fuck him up. Titanosaur ain't got shit on you.
Well, see, this is exactly why people like us watch Godzilla films. We were waiting for the fucking fight scene.
We want monster fights.
Yeah, I want monster fights. Giant monster fights.
I will say that this Godzilla design is one of my favorite. I love the big bug-eyed Godzilla. It's very cute.
Yeah.
And like this is the part where he has been established as a defender of Earth and for kids.
Oh,
so like this is like the designs from Godzilla versus Gigan, Megalon, then against Mechagodzilla, and then this terror film. In Godzilla versus Megalon, Jet Jaguar's getting his ass kicked, and you literally see Godzilla fucking going like this, pumping up, just like I'm gonna fuck shit up. Tag me in, homie, like a boxer.
I fucking love that all of the creatures sort of do these little hand movements. And I feel like it was just the actor inside the suit who was fucking pumped. And it was just doing these little hand movements where they were like really getting ready to do whatever the next action was. And you kept seeing it over and over again. But the Godzilla fist pound was probably one of the best ones in there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Just boom, ready to rock. Let's go. Or like the one where he comes out and he's just like, oh, he like raises his hands up,
he raises
like,
his arms.
Fucking stance, boy.
I am powerful.
Oh,
look
great.
At me.
Crazy power stance. I also could not get over the fact when they made Mechagodzilla fly.
Oh yeah, because it's just him on a string.
Yeah,
obviously.
you can see the little strings like pulling him along. It's so fucking funny.
All of the flying ones are really silly, but you're still like stoked on
Well,
it.
because like the arms and legs didn't move.
Yeah,
It turned into like a little
just
rocket
stiff.
that they would
Stiff
just
board.
yeah. Like, oh, when Mechagodzilla comes out of the silo, I'm like, I hope this motherfucker goes straight out of the silo.
Like a missile.
And they did not disappoint.
No, they did it. They did exactly what John wanted.
That was fucking great. I loved it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was that. I think that was what I enjoyed a lot about it. I knew what I wanted out of the movie. They delivered on that. They made the story a little more interesting for the people. It's like wacky in that way. And then we also had the extra layer of watching the dubbed version. So you have this weird voice acting on top of like all of the Japanese characters.
Sounds like there's just 2 women and 2 dudes that did voices for all of the characters.
All of them. There was like 4 people doing voices for like 20 plus people. That shit made me laugh because I would hear one character talking and it like sort of had a British accent, and then another person would talk and it just didn't match the characters at all, or they were like trying to do a weird voice because the character looked weird. Like one of the aliens, the guy who has like the weird goatee.
Oh yeah.
Like they try to give him like a weird creepy voice.
Dude, it's the thing. If you see a guy with sideburns or a goatee in a Godzilla film, he's the bad guy, and usually a European.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like it's always that's always just been a thing.
That's pretty
it's
funny.
Unwritten rule for some reason.
Right.
Like even in the King of the Monsters, it is still a European British dude. Eco terrorist is what they call him.
Eco-terrorist.
An eco-terrorist. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh dude, we were just so hyped. There's like straight up parts where Titanosaurus kicks Godzilla, and it's obvious
He goes flying.
Yeah, he just flies across the screen on like a rope, and then they land him into a cliffside.
That's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
That just made me think of the scene where the little submarine is in the water and Titanosaurus is supposed to be like holding it, but it's just like a little figurine that they dropped into the water, and it's like
a
stiff.
Bandai toy.
Yeah, exactly. It's all stiff and shit.
And
like
it's just
you
like
can tell.
holding onto it.
I love stuff like that. It makes me laugh, but also good for them for using miniatures.
We gotta talk about Mechagodzilla's firepower near the end of the movie. Godzilla like gets his shit rocked, and Titanosaurus is like jumping on his grave. It's like, I fucking won, bitch. And then Godzilla just comes out like a zombie, puts his fist in the air, and is like, I'm ready to come back.
Yeah.
Like
the
fist
humans,
pumps.
The humans are controlling Titanosaurus with the ray.
Yeah. And then you have this hilarious fireworks display from fucking
from Mechagodzilla, which is really just they put sparklers on the guy in the suit.
Unloads hellfire of missiles at Godzilla
all
the whole time.
Sorts of
it's
shit.
So silly.
Coming from his fingers, his knees.
His mouth opens like some rainbow thing comes
Super,
out
like,
from
the
his
comic
mouth.
book little buzzer thing that's like bzz, that just like comes out of his belly.
Right.
And you're just his like hands. Always does the close-ups on the hands and all the weird reverse shots and stuff of people falling and getting up.
The hand bits were hilarious because they would zoom in on the hand and it would twist 360 degrees, and then the little fingers would turn into like missiles.
Yeah.
And it would fire out and get stuck in Godzilla, and then you would get like a jump cut back to Godzilla who's like bleeding on the ground trying to get all this shit out.
It was so good.
Just all sorts of weird action, weird powers that they were able to do.
We haven't even touched on the cybernetic woman.
Yeah, oh my god. Apparently this movie has tits in it for like no reason.
Yeah, for no reason. Yeah,
you just see naked boobs in this movie, and you're
like
like, what?
Like 1 minute at most.
Yeah, well, yeah, like they don't even acknowledge it. It's just there and like totally unnecessary. Like
they didn't have to do that.
So I guess if I understand it right, they basically made the guy's daughter like the remote control, right?
Of
Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
And then she's on the table and they're like operating on her to like put all of the electronics in, and for some reason everything like above her stomach, so her breasts and like just that area is exposed, but she's clothed. She's fully clothed everywhere else, and we're like, what the fuck is going on?
Why did they? You didn't need to do that.
Yeah,
they just
so
were
weird.
Like, we're gonna put boobs in this.
Yeah, like
you know what? Let's make this campy.
Yeah, let's really B-movie this now.
Exactly.
The thing is, like when I grew up watching this film, it was the version that they showed in theaters. I don't recall a lot of that stuff, and I doubt it's in there because we're watching the Criterion Collection Blu-ray with all like like the intended versions of all
Right.
these movies. And they're cut to like fix the problems of other cuts, because Godzilla rights have been in different people's hands for many different years. It's a giant fucking mess. I tried to like analyze it. Okay, so this company had this movie for this amount of time, and cut this part, and that's not even counting American re-edits. Like the original 1954 Godzilla with Japan, it got butchered to hell when they put it for American audiences in 55. They called it King of the Monsters, and they added Raymond Burr to just narrate over the movie. And then they removed all the nuclear messages that they had in the film.
Oh, of course they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, fuck this propaganda. Like, I'm not going to fucking do this.
One of the most chilling parts of the original 54 film is when you see a homeless woman with 2 children, and she gets atomic breath by Godzilla. But before that happens, she's like, it's okay, we're going to be with your father soon. And you know that it's in reference to World War II.
Yep. Yeah, all the people who died.
This is a really weird thing, but also in like, this is the gnarliest name for a Godzilla. King Ghidorah, Mothra, Godzilla All-Out Attack in 2001.
Wait, so they list all the monsters and then the title?
Yeah. They didn't add Baragon though. Baragon's in the movie.
What does it look like on the cover? Like,
it's fucking dope.
Is it just like taking over the whole thing?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That's fucking awesome.
Godzilla comes back as the spirits of all the dead people from World War II and is pissed that we even had World War II. It's funky, man.
That sounds like a direct answer to a terrible edit. They were like, fuck whatever edit they made in the United States. We're about to fucking make a way better version and then make that fucking spirit come back.
Oh man, this is hilarious. Okay, look at this. Actually, sorry, let me rephrase this. Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, giant monsters all-out attack.
Yes. I fucking love the way this looks. Like, it's got all the monsters like right next to each other, kind of in a little line, like a hierarchy, and it's got Godzilla at the top there.
The
and
Japanese posters are even better though.
Wait, hold on.
That's really sick.
Wait, I've seen this one like numerous times. This is the cover that gets used the most for when people are talking about Godzilla shit.
Yeah, he's super scary. He's a bad guy in that movie. And the Defenders of Earth in this one are fucking Baragon, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. Like, I think the first and only time that King Ghidorah is a good guy.
Yeah, because definitely, like, I mean, you'd always think King Ghidorah is usually like just looks like a bad guy to me most of the time.
He is the alien that is not from this world, and we have to fucking rid him.
Yeah.
The biggest enemies for Godzilla are Ghidorah and fucking Mechagodzilla. But we have to talk about the ending, how they fuck shit up. Godzilla rips off Mechagodzilla's head again, and surprise, motherfucker, there's a beam brain
inside of it that shoots beams out of it at him.
And he's just like, oh, I can't just rip your head off this time. But the side human character plot comes in, and they kill the cybernetic woman, and that renders Mechagodzilla
easily one
useless.
of the most dramatic death scenes.
Oh, so many
like
dramatic.
So dramatic. It's like excessively fucking like novella-esque. Yeah, excessively
the
long.
Execution of the escaped prisoner, where they all shoot him. He's like,
shit.
It's like straight up out of Platoon.
Yo, oh my god, yeah, that's exactly what it looked like. Fucking when he gets shot like fucking 50 times in Platoon and won't drop to the ground.
Yeah,
just keeps getting shot. Yeah,
I will say he had impressive backflip. During the chase
and the
scene.
impressive
he did a fucking front flip.
Oh, impressive front flip.
He was like, yeah, just for no fucking reason, just does a front flip out of nowhere, and they like jump cut to it, and you're like, what the fuck is happening?
They were like on set, and the guy's just like, I can do a front flip.
Well, yeah,
I guess,
right,
man, go for it.
Yeah, they're like, fuck it, go ahead and do
go
it.
for it. Yeah.
The funniest shit is that he does the front flip and is like super acrobatic, but then like the next 10 seconds he just gets shot.
Yep.
Like it doesn't matter, like none of this matters, and they shoot him so many times and then just leave his body there. They're like, oh, fuck it, we're just going to leave him out here.
Yeah, it's just like, dude, this fool is he's trying to tell the world about our space titanium.
And it's like a rainbow metal.
They're just adding space to everything, and it's great, because they're just like, yeah, check it out. This is some space metal. Yeah.
Yeah, space titanium is what it's made out of. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, Mechagodzilla's dead. Titanosaurus is fucking thrown back into the ocean because Godzilla fucking kicked his ass. And then the leader of the aliens is like, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. See y'all. Fuck you guys. Jumps off a cliff into the ocean, and then 3 frisbees.
Dude, the three blue frisbee ships go away, and this happens while Godzilla's still fighting Titanosaurus, and then he just looks at them and beams them out of the sky before throwing Titanosaurus into the ocean. It's just like hardcore shit.
It's like, nope, you thought you could do this shit? Fuck you. And then Godzilla returns to the water in sepia tone and will not see the light of day for another 9 years.
What a fucking adventure to go through those fucking movies.
I have to watch more Godzilla movies.
Yeah, well, honestly.
But if you guys want, just come to my house because I have them all now.
You have every single one.
Yeah, that's the thing with the challenge.
I have a question for everyone, though.
What's that?
Of all of the like Godzilla monsters that you know of, like what's your favorite one?
I think it's Mothra.
Yeah, Mothra is my favorite as well.
Mothra's also your favorite?
Just because I think I got introduced to that character so many different times. So many different times people were talking about that monster. I've seen like plushies of it. I've seen like action figures for it. Like I had a cool fucking like screenwriter teacher who like that was her favorite, and she had so much shit associated. And then I watched, I think it was the Godzilla versus Mothra one.
Yeah.
Well, like a while ago, and I was like, this is fucking awesome. So I was like, either that one or what is the one that has like the 3 Hydra heads?
Ghidorah?
Yeah, Ghidorah is probably cool. Just because I love the way it fucking looks.
I only like my introduction to, there's Megalon. I always thought Megalon was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool monster, but I always really, and this is only because I played the Godzilla video game Destroy All Monsters, but Gigan was always my fucking monster in that one. He's got the 2 scythe arms. He used to be like a carnival. I guess he used to be like a carnival ride, and who got animated. And so I don't know. I just love that.
Yeah, if you haven't played any of the fighting Godzilla games from GameCube to like PS3 era, Wii era.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all fucking good. They're
great.
Fun.
Yeah.
I will say like I love Mothra, but I think a second. This is fairly recent though. A second for me is the Mechagodzilla Kiru from the Millennium series. His design is dope, and they give him a fuck ton of more. They give him more weapons than what we saw.
I feel like I really like Space Godzilla also, with all the big crystals on his back and stuff. He just looks gnarly, like super chunky and like ridiculous, and
he
powerful
can fly
as
too.
Fuck. Yeah, he can fly. That's another thing. He's a flying space alien Godzilla, I believe.
Yeah, there's a lot of just creative creatures, and like
Hedorah also. Hedorah is also really cool. The big sludge monster that also flies is really goofy.
Yeah,
but is pretty horrifying actually if you think about it.
Yeah, there's also another one that is very interesting. It's called Biolante, and it starts as a flower with the soul of a girl inside of it, and it melds with Godzilla DNA and becomes a force of nature with like vine creatures. And it's one of the biggest Godzilla creatures there are.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah, if you like Gigan, I recommend watching Godzilla Final Wars, because Gigan... have you seen that movie?
No.
It's very ridiculous and over the top.
Which one?
Godzilla Final Wars from 2004. This was the 50th anniversary of Godzilla.
Gotcha.
And it's basically like they freeze Godzilla in ice, and then a bunch of monsters just show up, and they have a super mutant race of people that are the Earth Defense Force or something like that. And a bunch of monsters show up, and who's trying to kick their ass? Godzilla. Of course, aliens are involved with it, but they control the monsters.
Yeah.
And so they're just like, all right, we need to wake up Godzilla from the ice and have him kick all these monsters' asses. At the same time, you're having Matrix-style battles with the mutants against the aliens.
Holy shit.
And it even gets a little Star Wars-y at the end. There's a WWE fucking wrestler that comes in with a Tom Selleck mustache and has a katana, and he's like, "This is Godzilla," or he's like, "This is Operation Final Wars," and you're like, "Damn!"
All right, fuck.
It's super sick. But Gigan gets a makeover. He has scythe arms in the beginning, but he gets his shit rocked. So then they upgrade him, and they give him chainsaw arms.
Oh my god, yes. I'm excited about that.
We need to watch this one.
Yeah, I feel like we need to just have more Godzilla parties.
American dub is over the top and ridiculous, and that's how they should be. You should have cheesy American over the top dubs.
Because they're fun. They're fun and silly, and they just make you laugh the whole time. And
then when the Godzilla and monster fights go on, you're just like, hell yeah. I will say, he also kicks Zilla's ass. Yeah, Toho got the rights to fucking the Matthew Broderick Godzilla, and they just kill that Godzilla in like 2 seconds.
Oh, he was in Final Wars?
Yeah.
Oh, what the hell? Oh, that's so good. Oh my god. So they just wreck that one in it?
Yep.
That's pretty funny. Like,
awesome.
yeah, we're gonna get the rights to fucking kill
Is
that
it all
thing.
CGI and stuff like that?
That Godzilla is like one of the only CGI characters.
Oh, okay. Oh,
dang.
gotcha. That's hilarious.
But OG Godzilla comes in and it's just like, you know what? You ruined my franchise in 98, bitch. I have a lot to say about Godzilla, and I'll just talk about it for days upon days. Everyone that knows me knows that I'm obsessed with it right now, simply because of the challenge that I've set upon myself. And it's very hard. I'm going to be burnt out of it by the end of next year for sure.
Do you know if Godzilla music, like the music from the films, is this on like vinyl anywhere?
Yes.
Is there like multiple?
They have several soundtracks on vinyl. The original from 1954 by Akira Ifukube, that is on vinyl, as well as Godzilla versus King Kong a couple years later.
Are they kind of pricey?
No, I got my copy for like $25.
Okay, cool. You can fucking go find it. That's cool.
Yeah, it is good stuff, and like those soundtracks are really good. It is supposed. I mean, Ishiro Honda is the original director, and he directs a lot of the Showa era movies. And for a lot of the Suitmation stuff, I mean, it was all one guy for the most part for the originals.
So before I let you guys go and kind of wrap things up, where do you think the series is going to go from here? Like, are they going to just keep making new monsters and update his look, or do you think they're going to try to set like a more established narrative?
It seems to me like especially with the more American movies that have been coming out lately. So Shin Godzilla is the end of that, like that. So we're not going to see anything from that clearly. It's what at least the director of Evangelion said, that he's done with that. But from what I'm hearing from Mur, since they're doing Godzilla versus King Kong after King of Monsters, that was one of the original stories with him too, was Godzilla versus King Kong. That was one of the OGs. So I don't think it would be remiss to say that if it does well, they'll continue onward and include more of the monsters from the history and keep doing it. Reboots and revamps and, retro style things are in right now. It's a popular market. People like revisiting the old, so I don't see why they wouldn't continue doing that and trying to bank on it, to be honest. So we'll probably see we'll see more Mothra, we'll see more, some of the older, the older monsters coming back, things like that. I mean, we've already seen some of the big ones. Rodan and Ghidorah and fucking Mothra are all classics, but I couldn't see why they wouldn't do more.
I think, I agree. I think it's going to get adapted for a modern audience who are really enjoying going back and having things redone and kind of changed out to be what they wanted. Like, even some of the older people who saw it when they were younger are probably seeing remakes of it now and really loving the updates because it has all the CGI, it's got the money, the budget for it, and people seem to be more open to films like this coming out now. So it could be a good opportunity to start making some giant monster movies that people might like. So I think it will be successful and they'll continue doing that. And even if it isn't, it's already established itself as like a piece of film where it's important. And there's just so many films you can go through, and it's like you can just really spend time going through all of it. Like Mur's going to go through all of them. So really it's kind of established itself on its own. And then this is going to be like the new chapter of it. And I think it'll be really good.
The thing is, I feel we're at a critical point in Godzilla history where it's like America is doing fine with their baby, with Toho's baby, and they're like, you know what?
Yeah.
If you're doing fine, and we're gonna let you keep making films under Legendary Pictures, and I'm cool with that because I like this iteration of Godzilla a lot, and they have people who love the films like the old films like I did when I grew up, making these new ones.
Yeah.
So they're not going to, ruin their baby. They're going to try to make Godzilla fucking good.
That's kind of what's happening with Star Wars.
Yeah, that's the thing. Cinematic universes are big now, and they're like, we can make a lot more money if we really vamp these up and keep making sequels like that.
That's what fucking Disney's gonna do. They're gonna like allow people to create so many alternate stories that tie in together because they know one is gonna make them a shit ton of money, but also you get to see all of the expanded universe that you didn't really get to see in any other form unless it was like a video game or something.
I think Toho. The thing is, Toho gave the rights to Legendary to use Godzilla. Until 2020.
Oh, okay.
But that's for King versus King Kong.
Yeah.
And then just the other day, I'd say like 3 days ago, Toho was like, you know what, you guys are doing good. You guys could go a little bit further.
Yeah.
And so Legendary is holding the torch for America, and Toho is going to come back next year with filming their own Godzilla movies. So it's going to be really cool because we're going to probably have 2 series at once. But
okay.
But the thing is, it's going to get a little confusing because everyone's like, oh, is this the sequel to that movie? No, this is the Japanese one. Oh, okay.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Just like it has always been.
Yeah. I mean, it happens. It'll be all right.
I will say, if you enjoy hearing me rave and fan over this film series, to check out the new segment that we will be starting, Monsters with Murr, pretty soon. I have a lot to talk about for each of these movies because each of them is their own little universe, I'd say.
I'm guessing it'll be similar in style to like the Afterthoughts one that I made, where it's just like you're going to explain some more in-depth stuff about the movies and the films and the characters and stuff.
Yeah, I'll go over general plot as well. It's just there's a lot about production and a lot about
some cool behind-the-scenes stuff.
Just in general, just where it is in the series as a Godzilla film itself, where it stands with the rest of the movies. I love this series, and I will probably love it until, I'm gone. It's just something that's been a part of me since I was like 4 or 5.
Hell yeah.
And I don't see myself walking away from it anytime soon.
Well, if a newer one comes out, I'm sure at some point we'll probably do a podcast about that newer one.
Godzilla versus Kong, yo.
Yeah, the new one.
Come on now.
We should definitely do something like that. So,
and we should watch the original and do a comparison.
Yes, we should do that. I like that idea. We got to write this down. So, all of our let me start that again. Our podcast is super easy to find on all of the streaming services. So we are now on a whole bunch of different ones. So the main ones are going to be like Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, as well as the Google Play Music or Google Podcasts, whichever one you want to look for. And then we're also on Stitcher, as well as Castbox, and then SoundCloud as well. And so feel free to go through any of those sites. The easiest way to do it is to go to our Instagram, and we have a link tree in there that'll take you to any one of the sites that work best for you. And so just Google bringing down the Grindhouse, and you'll be able to find exactly what you're looking for, or find the handle, which is the BDTGH_podcast, and you'll be able to find the Facebook, the Instagram, or the Twitter. Feel free to leave us comments, any sort of responses to post videos, listening to the podcast, maybe we missed something, or even just suggestions, or if you just want to say hi. You're going to send us messages because we love getting those and we love responding to them. But thank you guys so much for coming out to discuss these Godzilla films with me, and I hope everyone has a good night.
I'm Mitch.
I'm Murr.
And I'm Jonathan.
Good night.
Long live the king.